Ready to elevate your credit understanding and score? With insider tips and a plan, you can take action to improving your score, which can save thousands in unnecessary finance charges. Let's tackle today's topic with your coach, Credit Kristi.
Hey friends, it's Kristi, your credit coach. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. If you have been following my podcast for quite some time, you know it's usually just me yapping at you, but I have a very, very special guest with us today. So it is my pleasure to be able to introduce to you Danielle Hill. She is a co-founder with Upwardli. And Danielle and I were connected because we have the same heart for helping those that might be a little disadvantaged. And in this case, she's going to share some very specific and awesome information about people who are immigrating into the United States and how they might be able to really establish a credit score and credit profile well, and also have those right behaviors and habits, because let's face it, unless you know the rules of the credit game, you're set up to not win, right? It is my great pleasure to be able to introduce to you Danielle Hill with Upwardli. Danielle, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here with me today.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me, Kristi. I'm really excited to chat today and love all of your podcasts. You share such great information with all of your listeners.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I would love for you to tell me, you are one of the co-founders of Upwardli. Why did you start this amazing organization?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, great question. So my co-founder and I worked together at a company by the name of Remitly, which is an international money transfer company. And when we started, we were within the first 25 employees, and we were helping people that were new to the US send money back home to their home country and to their families. And what we realized really quickly was that people were having a hard time getting approved in our system. And we were one of the best options that were out there. And what we learned when we were diving into that is that in order to have a digital identity, you have to have a credit score, or you have to be in the credit system. And when you look even deeper into that, this 14% of our US economy, which are immigrants, are actually credit invisible or just don't have a credit score. And so not only were they not able to send money back home, but they also weren't getting things like credit cards. They were having difficulty renting homes, even things like a cell phone. They were having to spend another $500 to $1,000 just to get a cell phone. Super ridiculous. And it just makes moving to the US so expensive. And Aaron and I just really wanted to solve that with what we were building with Upwardli.
Love that. So you gave some additional stats when we were chatting about all of this ahead of time too. So you gave a really, really big stat about, so just a moment ago, you said credit invisible. How many millions of people are credit invisible in the United States?
So depending on how you slice it, so there's 26 million that are credit invisible. This means they have no score. They're just not in the systems or the credit bureaus at all. There's another 19 million people that are considered unscored. So that just means they may have one or two files in the credit bureau, but not enough information for them to actually have a score. So it's 50 million people, 50 million US adults. So Americans in the US that are adults, so over 18, there's 250 million people. So when you talk about 50 million people that fall into this unscored or invisible out of 250 million, that's a large population of people that are having difficulty accessing financial services.
It's huge. And our banking system is kind of antiquated, right? They'll give you credit if you don't need credit, right? So that means you qualify because you have a credit score already established. You've got money in the bank. You've already proven over years and years of great payment history. But if you come into our country in this system that's been created in which we have to play inside of these, color inside of these rules here, you're already starting off at a disadvantage. And so when you come from that space of disadvantage, to your point, it could cost you more money up front. Or if somebody will loan you money, I've seen it a number of times, it's a disgusting, high usury interest rate, which the majority of your payment is going to just paying that interest. So somebody else is getting rich, while you're getting deeper in debt, just to try to establish some kind of a credibility, if you will.
Yeah, that's right. And it's crazy to think about. I mean, there's so many stats I could go through, but immigrants in the US are contributing like $300 billion of tax money a year. And that's based on the income that they're making without having access to our credit system. Wow. So things like having loans for small businesses that they want to open, buying a home, any of those things, they're getting rejected. And we are, as a system, lumping people that have no credit into this, you're bad credit, you have bad credit risk. And that's just flat out not true. In fact, a lot of these people that are coming to the country have strong credit and have high cash flow, and they're just being ignored. And so that's what our mission is, to solve that and give access to financial services easy.
I love your why. Thank you. That is such a powerful why, right? And it's so serving this population and this group of people that really need it the most. So I love how you're thinking outside of, this little fishbowl, right?
Yeah.
So tell us how Upwardli works.
So it's great. I think the best way for me to explain it is actually to tell you a story about a friend of mine and put it into context. So my friend Eris, I met him when I was at Remitly running our operations teams in the Philippines. And I met him the first trip I was over there. And he was telling me from day one, his goal of moving to the US. That was his dream. He'd been dreaming it his whole life. He was coming up, like always asking me every time I visited, how do I get over there? How do I prepare? What should I do? All of these things. He was probably, I'm sure everyone prepares well, but he had his visa in line. He had all of his bills set up. He had money in savings. He had a great credit score in the Philippines. He moved here and immediately was like, how do I access my money? How do I get a bank account? I can't rent an apartment. All of these things that immediately he was just totally excluded from. And here's this person that had great credit and a great job in his home country, and is coming to his dream country and is basically being told, sorry, you can't have access to any of these things. So how he can do this is when he was here, he joined Upwardli. And what we do is focus on getting people into the credit bureaus as soon as possible. So our entry product is a savings account combined with a line of credit. So Eris would sign up for this product. We would open a line of credit that we can report to the credit bureaus, and we report to 2 of the 3. And in the course of us reporting each month, he's able to start to establish his credit report. The savings aspect for us is that it allows us to better understand Eris and kind of how is he spending his money? Where does he need money? What's his next financial goal? And we use all of that to offer more things that he can purchase with our line of credit. So think of Upwardli as a store card for helping you get your foundational finances in place when you enter the US.
Outstanding. And then how long of a process is that foundational piece?
So it takes about 3 to 6 months for someone that is credit invisible to start to have a credit score. So that's information that's shared across the board. We believe our customers tend to stay with us for about a year, and that's because they want to get that credit score. And then they take advantage of the offers we have that put them with credit cards or loans or other things that they may be interested in getting as well.
Outstanding. And then from a mortgage perspective, we love to have, somebody showing up, usually 2 years worth of employment, income, and credit. But when we're looking just specifically at credit, we are looking at the most recent 12 months is the most important part of it all. Obviously, we're looking at the overall profile of those behaviors and actions, habits when it comes to your credit. But if somebody were looking to buy a home, and let's say they've been in the country for a couple of years, for whatever reason they're here, visa or, permanent resident alien, whatever the reason they were able to get here. And then now they've just learned of this, right? They don't necessarily have to have 2 full years worth of credit established in order to potentially get approved for a mortgage. So I love that you are that foundational, 12 months to help get them started. I'm curious though, which 2 out of the 3 main bureaus do you report to?
So Equifax and Experian, and we are talking with TransUnion right now. We're a new company. We're about a year old. And so we are still working with TransUnion to get set up.
Sometimes with big, large companies that have been around for decades, they require, a really long track record, right? So I'm sure you're going to show your success with the other 2 bureaus and have no problem breaking into that. So I'm excited. That 2 out of 3 is like, that's incredible though. Even when it comes for a mortgage, if you had 1 credit score, we can make it work, right?
That's right. Well, and here's the other thing that's super interesting about that, and you probably know this with your background, is that when your credit score is being pulled for a home loan or a car, a specific FICO score is actually being reviewed. And a lot of the services that are out there today, Credit Karma, NerdWallet, all of those that show you a credit score are likely showing you a Vantage score that may not actually be the score that's being used when you are going to apply for a car or a mortgage. And so a lot of consumers are surprised when they get told, hey, your credit score is something different than what they're seeing when they're tracking it every day. And so one of the other things that Upwardly offers and why I love your podcast so much is education around how the credit system works and how to actually think, what questions to ask, and to make sure that you really understand what you're getting yourself into when you start to extend on credit.
You have an amazing library of resources on your website. I was really blown away when I got to see what kind of information you put forward. So you can really tell that you are out to serve the needs, and it's just amazing. I don't know anything about the product personally. So just so my listeners know, I'm not endorsing the product as something that I've used before, but just being introduced to Danielle and the organization, I thought, well, this is just something that I have no problem getting behind as far as an option for people who are immigrating into the United States to be able to establish a credit history, a great profile, a little bit faster and a little bit easier than like, what are the other options, right? So even secured credit cards may not be an option for somebody who's brand new to the United States.
$500 to $1,000 for a secured card, and Upwardly is $6 a month. So it's very affordable. That was the whole concept we came up with after doing hundreds of customer calls was people wanted something that was affordable or felt like spare change. And so we thought, okay, $6 a month, that's $1.50 a week. That's essentially like spare change. And most people should be able to afford that to help build their credit.
Yeah, it's that important. And my listeners know I'm not a credit repair company, but I've had a lot of listeners say, hey, I start off with a credit repair company. A lot of them will charge a couple $100 up front to get started. And then, the usual number I see is like $79 to $99 a month. So to correct something is very, very costly. To start properly and quickly doesn't have to be expensive. So $6 is really a nominal fee. And anybody who has credit already established, if you look at what you're paying in interest each month on credit card balances that you might, roll forward each month, I promise you it's a whole lot more than $6 a month. So very, very fair. What else should our listeners know about how to check out your products? Maybe where somebody should start if they have a friend or a family member that's coming over here. How can they recommend getting in touch with Upwardly?
So we're online, so www.upwardli, which is li.com, and feel free to link that there. Also, people can reach out to me. As I mentioned, we're super early in our journey of solving this problem for these customers. And what's most important to us as founders is that we don't stray from solving the problem. So we love to talk to our customers. If there's anyone out there that is new to country or soon to be here in the country and wants to kind of talk to us about how they're thinking about this, we would love that. And then the other thing I would say is we continue to update and add blogs onto our website as well. So definitely a resource to check out.
Awesome. Education, you just can't get enough of it, especially the things that are important to our hearts and our families. I love that you found a problem and you're looking to create a solution. But what I love most about what you said, Danielle, is like, this isn't like, this is what we're doing. You're like, we're growing and we're morphing and we're creating something that's living and breathing and will probably continue to change over time as needs change, as new information comes forth, as the bureaus make their changes, because that stuff changes all the time too. So we got to be pretty nimble, right? So wonderful. Well, I'll make sure in the show notes that everybody has contact information for you and for your amazing company. So thank you for being a co-founder of something that could really be an amazing impact for a lot of people. Is there anything that I didn't ask you or that you didn't share that you think would be really important for our listeners to learn or know about today?
No, I would just say, education is key. Continue to leverage the resources around you and don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's one of the things that can help get you on the right path is getting someone that can help guide you. And Upwardly is happy to do that if we're the ones for you.
Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with me. And to our listeners and our viewers, please feel free to share this with somebody that you think might be able to benefit from learning more about this organization and how it might be able to help somebody who is new or going to be new into the United States, because we want to really help them start well with the right products, the right reporting. Again, if you don't know the rules of the game, how could you possibly win it? So we know that we've got to have credit in order to get financing for any of those things that we want in our lives, for for businesses, for our personal needs. A lot of times we need to have a credit card, right? You can't rent a car or get a hotel room without having a credit card. So credit is just, it's that important, not debt. Y'all know I'm trying to help everybody get out of debt. We're not proponents for establishing debt, but just establishing that credit profile that shows the ability to manage money, pay it back on time so that we could be extended more money as we go through life. So Danielle, thank you so much for being here with me. And to our listeners and our viewers, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me at questions@creditkristi.com. And until next time, my friends, stay well.